Hi, here we are with the third episode of Decode Issues Unfolded. We have all been watching what's been going on in the Indo-China border issue, with the Chinese incursions in the Galwan Valley. The mainstream debates have focused themselves on three options: negotiation, war, and boycott China. But as we keep debating these same options each and every time an issue crops up, China on the other hand has been going on with its salami slicing. They took 2 steps forward and 1 step backward, ultimately gaining advantage. To counter this constantly increasing aggression and bullying, what India needs is an equally aggressive strategic and diplomatic game plan. That is what we'll address in this episode. After all, we cannot rely on social media warriors to protect the nation's interests, nor can trending hashtag boycott China going to make us an economic superpower. So what should be India's strategy to tame the dragon? Well, it involves 2 aspects. One, the unilateral actions of India, and the other, the multilateral global diplomacy. We'll look at 3 aggressive options that India has, but is yet to be explored. First, and the strongest weapon in our diplomatic arsenal, but also the most unexplored one, is the One China policy. One China policy in 1949 meant that any country to have diplomatic relation with China should recognize Taiwan as an integral part of China. But it didn't stop there though. They went ahead and annexed Xinjiang, Tibet, and Hong Kong into their One China fold over the years. While India had endorsed the One China policy in 1949 and still continues doing so, China hasn't reciprocated with the same gesture in Pakistan-occupied Kashmir issues. Well, we need to recognize the fact that our government had indeed passed a strong signal to China when our Prime Minister Modi invited the representatives of Taiwan government and the Tibetan government in exile to his swearing-in ceremony in 2014. And even subsequently after that, our then Foreign Minister, Ms. Sushma Swaraj, had made it clear to her Chinese counterpart that they would have to adhere to One India policy and stop supporting Pakistan on the issue of Kashmir if they wanted India to stick to its One China policy. While our statements were strong, we did not follow it up with action despite Chinese refusal to adopt One India policy. We went back to appeasing China through Wuhan Spirit and the Mahabalipuram Connect. What did we get in return? Doklam standoff, unwarranted comments on India's Jammu and Kashmir reorganization, and now the Galwan standoff. Irrespective of India's reservations, China has even continued to build the China-Pakistan Economic Corridor project through the Pakistan-occupied Kashmir. But this is not the time to back down. If we do so, China of the future could be a much worse bully. In order to maintain status quo, it's required to match their aggression with aggression. Just a call for review of the One China policy would be a great irritant and distress for China. A recent incident is proof of it. Last month, a mere virtual participation of BJP MP Meenakshi Lekhi in Taiwan President Tsai Ing-wen's swearing-in ceremony left China fuming. So how can India proceed? India should first exercise the option of supporting the Tibet and try that the Dalai Lama should be given a higher position and the Tibetan government in exile should be provided greater visibility amongst the media, academia and in the political circles of India. And we should explore the option of enhancing political, technological and economical engagements with Taiwan. Recently, India had become the chair for the Executive Council of WHO. So allowing a discussion on including Taiwan back into the WHO membership could be a starter. India could also exercise the option of being vocal supporter of the democracy protests in Hong Kong and indeed could raise the human rights violations in the Xinjiang province in international platforms. Our policy on China should move away from bargaining and appeasement and towards a more offensive strategy. As we talk of offensive strategies, a major chink in China's armor is the Malacca Dilemma, which is also a second strategic weapon. Malacca Strait is a narrow passageway between Singapore and Indonesia through which 80% of China's energy and oil resources pass. Indian maritime doctrine also talks about the Malacca Dilemma of China and how it's a significant part of India's strategy to blockade China. In tune with this strategy, India has continued to bolster its capabilities at Andaman Nicobar and Indian Ocean. India is now building its 3rd naval base at Andaman Nicobar Islands, has its first Tri-Services Command at Andaman Nicobar, and Indian warships maintain a 24-hour surveillance of the straits and are in process of establishing Indian naval bases at Sabang port in Indonesia and one more port in Vietnam. But China understands this limitation of its Malacca Dilemma, and that is the reason why it's been investing billions through BRI, Belt and Road Initiative, in building ports in Pakistan, Sri Lanka and Myanmar in order to bypass the Malacca Strait and also to surround India as a string of pearls. To take on this Chinese naval buildup in Indian Ocean, unilateral actions of India will just not be sufficient. What is required is a strong multilateral cooperation of the Indo-Pacific countries to take on the Chinese military and economic might. The Indo-Pacific cooperation is our third strategic option. Well, this is not the first time that a call for multilateral cooperation in the Indo-Pacific has risen. In fact, in 2007, Quad, which stands for Quadrilateral Security Dialogue, a group of 4 maritime democracies, US, Japan, Australia and India, was formed. But due to strong Chinese opposition, Australia immediately withdrew and the whole grouping was put in a cold storage for a whole decade. Only in 2017, there was again a realization of Chinese threat and Australia came back voluntarily into the fold and Quad was revived. Now, in fact, a Quad 2.0 is being floated with the inclusion of South Korea, New Zealand and Vietnam. Similarly, in 2018, on the sidelines of G20, J, a grouping of US, America, India and Japan was formed to not just counterbalance China in the Indo-Pacific but also provide an alternative to Belt and Road Initiative of China, since US and Japan have deep pockets to finance infrastructure. But the issue with Quad and J is that there have been a lot of ambitions and visions but with little action on the ground. There has been a missing of one particular country which holds this group together. And now US and UK have proposed an expansion of G7 to include India, Australia and South Korea and make it D10. Being a group of top economies, it has all the potential to counterbalance the BRI of China. Regarding BRI, it's a well-known fact that countries are being debt-ridden by the Chinese BRI projects. For instance, Hambantota port in Sri Lanka was taken over by China for a 99-year lease, since Sri Lanka is not in a position to repay the debt. And recently, Malaysia cancelled 3 projects of BRI totaling $23 billion. Thus, it becomes imperative that these groupings like J, G7 and Quad, with their deep pocket, be active investors in Asian and Indo-Pacific countries, providing an alternative to BRI. This could definitely unsettle China's long-term strategic game plan. We should also focus on diverting China's attention to the South China Sea and other borders of China by providing resources and support to countries like Vietnam and Philippines who are even ready to take on China. But what all these measures require fundamentally is a strong, long-term, aggressive policy from India, which has been perennially missing in India's relations with China. My final thoughts on the strategic game plan is that China's approach has been always one-sided. And based on this philosophy that if you're not my friend, you're my enemy. With such a policy acting as a center point for China's diplomacy, India's age-old strategy of non-alignment, equidistance and neutrality is just not going to cut it. What we need is an offensive strategy that ensures China doesn't leave the negotiation table and show that India cannot be pushed around. Thank you for listening. If you like this, please do share and follow for more interesting topics. We'll meet you in the next episode. Until then, it's your CV.